I thank you so much for showing up, everybody, for doing this. I wanted to point out the power of living benefits that you can add to any number of products you might be presenting to your clients. And it seems to be something that people tend to overlook quite a bit. So I want to just drive that home. Don't overlook it. It's a powerful tool to help them. As this says right here, life insurance you don't have to die to use. That's always a good point. You don't have to make a claim to get this stuff. So lots of different carriers, lots of different products allow um, to you to add these things either included as a whole or like a package or one by one kind of cafeteria style. So what I'll be focusing on is Corebridge's product, which is their QOL Flex term. Primarily just as an example, but because it's well priced, it's a very, very good product. It includes the living benefits as a suite, so to speak, at no additional cost. So with this product, you get critical, chronic, and terminal illness riders automatically included at no additional cost. You can also add a waiver of premium rider, which we'll go into a little bit later. But if the insured incurs total disability, it waives their premiums. So that's an additional benefit. I've got lots of agents that won't even present anything, whatever they're presenting, without that waiver of premium option, the rider on there. Just as a side point here, there's a policy fee of $75 per year. It is commissionable if you were going to ask. So again, it's the Corebridge. They call it the Quality of Life Insurance Accelerated Benefit Rider Plan. Flex term is what we're focusing on. The QOL is quality of life, if you haven't figured that out. So first off is their chronic illness benefit. Um, Chronic illness is a little bit different. There's a little nuance between, say, critical and chronic. With this, it allows them to accelerate their death benefit. The owner of the policy can activate this if the insured is diagnosed with a chronic illness or condition. They're pretty lenient as to how they define that. So what triggers the qualifying event is an illness or physical condition that renders the insured unable to perform at least two ADLs. That's the uh, the ADLs are for these specific things, activities of daily living considered bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, continence, eating. They're the basic stuff. There's 6 of them. So if there's 2 things that they can't do, they can trigger this benefit and access their death benefit, which is really powerful and really helpful in particular situations. Another triggering event is if they need substantial supervision from anybody else because of cognitive impairment. Um, I will point out right here and now, this is not long-term care, but you can see how this might come into play. If somebody is in need of long-term care because of cognitive issues and they don't have a long-term care policy, they can tap into this based on this criteria. So very important, very powerful, very helpful to your clients. Really, in some cases, you'd be remiss in not showing them this. The critical illness, a little bit different. Critical illness benefit is similar in that you can accelerate some or all of the death benefit at the time of this event, but it's specific illnesses, specific conditions. So they list them out. You got your heart attack, invasive cancer, major organ transplant, blindness, stroke, end-stage renal failure or end-stage renal disease, commonly known as ESRD, uh, paralysis, or I'm going to go ahead and try to say this, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, commonly known as, or Lou Gehrig's disease, if you're familiar. So any of those specific diagnoses, you can trigger this benefit and start accessing the death benefit without having to die. Speaking of which, terminal illness as accelerated benefit for the same kind of thing, access the death benefit. In this particular case, it's if you're diagnosed with a condition or illness that would reasonably result in death within 24 months. Key point to this, you'll see this in a lot of carriers products, a lot of different policies, but oftentimes it's required that it's death within 12 months. With this particular one, it's 24, which is much better, obviously. So something to pay attention to and to look at when you're considering doing these kinds of things. So things to consider. I think I mentioned already that this is not long-term care, but I think it's very important to look at it like, hey, if you're in a position where you need long-term care, your insured needs long-term care, and they don't have a long-term care policy, this could come into play. It could be a very powerful thing for them and their family. So you need to advise them, tell them about these benefits that they have an option for, because it can get them out of a big financial bind at some point in the future, uh, depending on what their circumstances are. But if they qualify for the living benefit, it could be monumental for them. Of course, it reduces the death benefit. So if somebody accelerates the death benefit and they take some out for their current situation, the death benefit is reduced. Ask me, small price to pay given the circumstances. The QOL, the quality of life from Corebridge, is actually available in California. If you've talked to any of the reps out there and doing presentations, usually they go through all these things such as this, and then they say, oh, by the way, this is not available in California, or not yet. We're still waiting on California to approve this, or California and New York maybe, but this is actually available in California. And I mentioned before the waiver of premium for additional protection. Again, you put these things together and it's like, okay, if somebody is in a position where they qualify for activating this living benefit, they're probably going to be disabled. So this will waive their premium. It's a complete package. Um, there and I saw something pop up about question of cost, and I anticipated that, so I ran a quote actually, so I'll get to that real quick here. Another point I wanted to make real quick though is the Simply Now Instant Decision uh, version of this that they offer through Corebridge. You do have to get the QOL appointment. It's different contracting, which is fine. You do have to go through IGO to submit an application, but that gives you access to their Simply Now instant decision version of this. So you can know whether or not the person's going to be approved for this or qualifies for this plan within 45 minutes sometimes. So that's super powerful. Of course, if they don't qualify for that, it goes into their accelerated underwriting mode. If not that, then okay, full traditional underwriting. Worst case is okay, it goes through the normal underwriting process. Not a bad thing whatsoever. And then there's the cost. So someone did ask about this. You figure such a thing. I mean, I know I mentioned all these different additions to a policy that you can put in there, and you figure it's going to cost a lot, especially if you know what some of these things cost. If you're going to incur the cost from the facilities you're with the services you're getting, and so forth. So the benefit here is great given the cost. What I did here, I ran a quote for just a 40-year-old male in Texas at preferred rates, and this first one, this top one here, is simply their normal, everyday, walking around, select term term policy. It's a 30-year term, and it's for $1 million in coverage. It's $109, rounded up if you like, $110 a month. All right. If you do the QOL flex term, which is the same policy, but with all this suite of living benefits that we just talked about, $115 a month. All right, $6 a month extra, and you get all that. What I did lastly here is just added the whole thing with the QOL and the waiver premium, which is $23 a month. And so you're talking about $138 a month. So what's that? Less than $30 a month extra to get all that and provide your clients with the peace of mind, the quality product that they need, that they may very well unfortunately run into in the future and have to use. Um, and you could always present different options. You can present a long-term care separate standalone policy and a separate life insurance, and then do this, and it looks really, really good. So again, it's also available in that Simply Now immediate decision. Um, very, very valuable at what I would consider a reasonable, very reasonable cost.